everyone. Even if you're a mess, I'm going to show you proof today that manifestation is real in this video. Napoleon Hill, an absolute legend behind the awesome book Think and Grow Rich, the self-help guru who helped millions of people learn how to get wealthy. Well, what if I told you he was actually a con man in real life? This is a wild story about our beloved Napoleon Hill, a man who scammed his way to the top and yet still managed to write one of the best-selling self-help books of all times. How's that for irony? And yes, the same guy who couldn't hold down a business, who dodged the law and faked friendships with historic figures, wrote books that have helped millions to manifest their goals. And that's not only just fascinating, it's very inspiring. At first, I was sad about telling this story, but then I realized how what I'm about to reveal to you makes his work even more relevant to your own personal law of attraction and manifesting efforts. This is a different twist on Napoleon Hill, so get ready. Hi, I'm Kate Wilder, and if you're new here, welcome, and welcome back if you've been following my channel. Before we dive into the facts of Hill's con man activities, do hit that subscribe and like buttons and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss an episode, and also to support my channel so others will find me. Now, let's dive in. Chapter 1. The first well-known fact about Napoleon Hill is that he claimed to have personal meetings with some of the biggest names in history: Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, President Woodrow Wilson. But shockingly, none of these meetings were ever verified. There are no historic records or documents corroborating meetings with Andrew Carnegie, who was supposedly Hill's mentor and the reason that he started Think and Grow Rich and the stories in that book. However, no concrete evidence supports their direct relationship. Not just that, though. Journalist Samuel Crowther, who wrote for the Saturday Evening Post, also exposed discrepancies in Hill's stories. Crowther noted that Hill's interviews with people like Edison and Ford were fabrications, since neither man ever mentioned Hill or acknowledged any collaboration with him. And then biographers like David Nassau and journalists like Matt Novak tried to find proof and came up with nothing from what is known out there. Now, in my own personal research on a couple of my favorite stories from Think and Grow Rich, I did find discrepancies from historic public stories from the companies he talked about, such as Coca-Cola. So I kind of found that interesting too. So I researched further to see what I could find. Many of Hill's stories, even his self-proclaimed meetings with Woodrow Wilson, have been debunked by historians. For example, that same journalist, Mark Novak, in Gizmodo, ran an in-depth investigation in 2016, finding no evidence that Hill had any documented relationship with him. And Hill claimed to have given advice to the president, sitting in on a couple of meetings in the Oval Office. But again, no evidence, no records exist. So that's kind of a good hustle, Napoleon, but hang on for your hat because there's a little more that might lead you to question this. Hill's business career wasn't just full of failures, it was downright shady. One of his first forays into business was a scheme involving the Betsy Ross Candy Company, which was supposed to finance a lumber business. And yeah, you guessed it, Hill took investments but never delivered. No profits, just lawsuits. A newspaper, the Coshocton Tribune, on April 27th of 1909, reported on this fraudulent activity, stating that he was charged with fraud and left town to avoid prosecution. Now, man, we can't make this stuff up. You know, I'm in disbelief over this as well. But how about this also? Hill's involvement with the Automobile College of Washington ended in scandal when students accused him of misrepresentation. According to Mental Floss, he fled Washington, D.C. to avoid fraud charges. And additionally, the Washington Post reported on Hill's multiple business failures during the 1920s and 1930s. And then the Count incident, where Hill often referred to himself as Count or Colonel titles that he never earned. Investigative journalist David J. Schwartz revealed in his book, The Magic of Thinking Big, that these were titles fabricated to give him an air of authority. Business failures, despite preaching success principles, Hill faced numerous bankruptcies and legal troubles. Now, Hill's Science of Success course was also criticized by being overly simplistic and misleading. Investigative journalists like Preston Glass in the 1950s raised questions about the authenticity and value of these courses, stating that many of Hill's ventures collapsed while leaving investors and students out of money. So, how did this guy become famous? Did he actually copy some of the works from people who came before him who wrote about manifestation, like Wallace Wattles or Florence Scovel Shinn? Why do Think and Grow Rich and his other books still sell like hotcakes today? Now, make a comment below if you have one about this, because if Hill was such a fraud, shouldn't he have disappeared into obscurity like, I don't know, many other con men? And that's where it gets interesting and maybe a little mind-boggling, because despite all of that mess, Napoleon Hill's books continue to inspire millions of people. Think about it. Here's a guy who might have lied about everything, failed left and right, but still managed to create a masterpiece that's lasted generations. If manifestations or the law of attraction isn't real, then how do you explain this? How does a man so full of personal contradictions create something so lasting and so impactful? Regardless of how badly he managed his own money, what about this? Maybe, just maybe, Napoleon Hill's success proves something powerful about the principles that he preached. I mean, a guy with a sketchy past can still think and grow rich. Imagine what you can do when you're actually genuine, focused, and aligned with your purpose. So, look, here's a bigger takeaway from all of this. Hill's personal life might have been full of failures and deceit, but that doesn't take away from the fact that his ideas work. His own life, in his weird, hilarious way, proves the power of persistence, belief, and manifestation, as ironic as that is, right? A con man who still manifested a lasting legacy despite his flaws. I mean, Hill's teachings resonate because they tapped into universal truths about mindset and perseverance. And key principles from Think and Grow Rich, like first, having a desire, the starting point for all achievement, faith, visualization, and a belief in your goals, persistence, overcoming obstacles through determination. These principles can inspire anyone, con man or not, to pursue their dream. So yeah, Napoleon Hill might have lied his way to success, but if manifestation principles work for him, just imagine how powerful they can be when applied with real integrity. Maybe that's the key takeaway here. I don't know. Manifestation doesn't care who you are. It just works. So think about it. If a man with as many flaws as Hill can leave behind such a powerful legacy, then why can't you? Sure, he wasn't perfect, but neither are any of us. And if we're really honest, maybe his life message makes it even more profound. It's like the universe laughing and saying, yeah, manifestation is real, even if you're a mess. So here's my takeaway for you in this video. If you've got dreams or goals or a vision for your life, don't get caught up in being perfect and feeling like all your manifestation efforts have to be just so perfect. Manifestation isn't about being flawless. It's about belief, persistence, and showing up. And if it worked for Napoleon Hill, well, I'd say you're in a pretty good spot to have it work for you. I've always learned from the law of success and Think and Grow Rich. And even though most discredit Napoleon Hill and write him off completely now, I choose to believe manifestation works in spite of him being a potential bad actor. Even though he was broke many times in his life, he still managed to eke out an amazing legacy. That's what today's story's lesson is that I hope you take from this. I'm still a Think and Grow Rich fan, and I still maintain my copy that is highlighted and written up on, and as excited as I've been about many of these principles in this book since I was 20 years old or 18 years old. So I've purchased multiple copies through the years, as I'm sure you have. So if you know someone who's a fan of Napoleon Hill, share this video with them, because this is still a gold Bible with great insights. In my humble opinion, some might disagree, but I have used principles in this book to manifest dreams and goals in my life and achieve great things. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to continue to do so, not just with Hill, but with others that came before him and after him as well, at least in my manifesting journey. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. So do hit that subscribe and bell notification, like this video, share it with someone who's a Napoleon Hill fan. It's not over, folks. Just because Hill had a less than perfect life, let's say, if he can do it, so can you. I'm Kate Wilder, here just to say happy manifesting and join me in the next episode. Can't wait to see you then. Thanks for being here.